Today we are ditching the version 1 wide body fender and installing version 2. Alright guys, so last time we got the version 1 fender installed, all 3D printed, and in case anyone's wondering, I did use PETG on this. This would not be something I would leave on the car forever, but it is a nice strong material and good enough for a prototype of this sort. And the whole fender is 9 different pieces just so I could fit it on the printer. And I think overall it looks pretty good, but right away I saw a lot of tweaks I wanted to make to this. The first main one is the fact that this is so rounded here, and then it really doesn't blend right in with the car. It kind of sticks out and juts out. And I think then it makes this whole area a little bit too high. So you can really see it then also from the back. It's very rounded. I mean, the whole car is rounded, but it's a little too rounded, and then it doesn't necessarily blend in with the car very well. And I just think it makes the whole thing a little bit too big and high in this area. So in order to fix that, I'm gonna smooth that whole section out. So that's gonna be the major change from V1 to V2, but I also made some other tweaks. For example, down here, I noticed this is actually way too low for what lines up with the car. And I think it's a result of the model I was using, that was just a generic model, wasn't quite right, and I didn't scan quite back far enough to really get that aligned. So I'm gonna bring that up so that it's more aligned with that line. And kind of the same idea, I want to make these cutouts here more aligned and parallel with this line, which is not flat. So in order to do that, I will basically angle from here up. It will result in basically this section being up a little bit higher, but I think then it will flow a little bit better with all the lines in the car. And so now I can take you inside quick and I'll show you the full design of V2. So with all that said, here's the version 2 of the wide body fender. So you can see now, looking at this, this is much flatter and flows with the body lines of the car. It doesn't look exactly perfect here because this is just a random imported model. So here you can see when I bring the scan in, it flows very nicely with the body lines, but I'm gonna hide that just because it's a little bit easier to look at. And now if I bring the V1 fender back in, you can see how much lower the new one is compared to the old. This was the whole way up here. The new one is nice and flat and blends in with the car. You can also see I did change the size of the vent. So the old vent was a little bit larger, and it also had a much steeper angle on the fins. Here you can see the difference in the vents. So the old vent had very steep and larger openings. So I made the new one a little bit more subdued. I think it flows a little bit better with the car. You can also see I added a little bit of a cutout to kind of catch the air behind the vent. And here you can see the difference on the cutout behind the wheel. See, the new one is higher, and that's really just a result of matching this angle. And so the front one is really at the same spot, but it has a little bit of an angle. And then when that lines up with the back, it causes the back one to be a little bit higher. So you'll see a little bit more of the tire, and I think that'll flow better with the lines that are actually on the car. And lastly, down here, you can see this is what I was talking about. I changed the angle a little bit to flow with the real line that is in the door and brought it up a little bit as well. So that is the V2 fender. Now all we have to do is get it printed and installed on the car. Okay guys, so now we've got V2 installed. I've got V1 here sitting next to it just so we can really illustrate the differences. You can see how round V1 is in comparison to how flat the new version is, and also how tight to the car it kind of flows in with the car a lot better compared to how sharply the V1 was. And then the vent is obviously a little bit smaller. It's a little narrower, and we've also got one less opening. We went from 5 to 4, and you should be able to see these were very drastic angle on the V1, and then the V2 is much more slim to the body. And coming around the front, kind of the same thing, where this was so rounded and came in at a harsh angle to the car, and you can see how much this new version flows very nicely into the car. And then the same story as it comes onto the bumper, it hugs the bumper much more than it used to. And now with the old fender removed, you can really get an idea of what this looks like. Overall, this is 100 times better than the first version. I like that it's not so high up in this area. Just looks like it belongs on the car much more. Now, I still don't think this is the final product. I still see some more tweaks I want to make. I know a lot of people mentioned they'd like this line to flow in with this line. It's just a little bit odd to get that to look right, but I still might try to do it. Might have to bring it down and then flow in. I definitely like the more sleek vent, so I think I'm gonna stick with something similar to this. I like the little trail after it. It's actually pretty similar to how the vent on the door trails into the rest of the body. And I do think now I have this cut pretty much at the right spot. One other thing I'm thinking about is that the fitment is pretty good, but I think we could be a little bit tighter to the tire. As it sits now, we're kind of in like low mode, so it wouldn't be quite this low, so we have some more clearance at normal ride height. So I think if we can bring this just a little bit tighter, the fitment would look a little bit nicer, especially when you lower it down. But yeah, generally I am really happy with this. I think it looks a lot better than V1. You can see as you look over the car, it doesn't just like stick up and out like it did before. I think it flows pretty nicely, but still interested to hear what everyone thinks and what other tweaks you might have to this design. I think we are getting very close.